Have you ever heard strange noises coming from your attic? Maybe it was just the house settling, or a small animal scurrying around. But what if it was something else entirely? Something you couldn't explain? Tonight, we're diving into a chilling tale that will make you think twice about those unexplained sounds in your home. Get ready for The Whisper in My Attic Wasn't Human. This is a work of fiction, but it might just feel a little too real. So, dim the lights, grab a blanket, and prepare yourself for a story that will send shivers down your spine. It all began on a crisp autumn evening in a small town called Millbrook. Sarah had just moved into her grandmother's old Victorian house. The house was a beautiful relic of the past, with its intricate woodwork and stained glass windows. But it also held secrets that Sarah was about to uncover. On her first night in the house, Sarah couldn't sleep. The unfamiliar creaks and groans of the old building kept her awake. As she tossed and turned, she heard something that made her blood run cold. A faint whisper seemed to be coming from the attic above her bedroom. At first, she tried to convince herself it was just the wind, but the whisper became clearer, more insistent. It wasn't saying words exactly, but it had a rhythm to it, a pattern that felt almost alien. Sarah pulled the covers up to her chin, her heart racing. She wanted to investigate, but fear kept her rooted to the bed. As the night wore on, the whispers faded, and she finally drifted off to sleep. When morning came, Sarah convinced herself it had all been a dream. She spent the day unpacking and exploring the house. In the afternoon, she ventured up to the attic. It was dusty and filled with old furniture and boxes. Nothing seemed out of place or unusual. Sarah felt silly for being so scared the night before. But as night fell, the whispers returned. This time they were louder, more urgent. Sarah sat up in bed, her hands shaking as she reached for her phone. She called her best friend Lisa, hoping for some reassurance. "Lisa, I know this sounds crazy, but I keep hearing whispers in the attic," Sarah said. Lisa, always the practical one, suggested it might be a raccoon or squirrel. "Why don't you set up a camera?" Lisa proposed. "Then you'll know for sure." The next day, Sarah bought a small security camera. She placed it in the attic, pointing it at the area where she thought the whispers were coming from. That night, she lay in bed, watching the live feed on her tablet. Hours passed, and nothing happened. Sarah's eyelids grew heavy and she started to drift off. Suddenly, a movement on the screen jolted her awake. A shadow passed in front of the camera. It wasn't the shape of any animal Sarah had ever seen. It was tall, almost human-like, but too thin and angular. And then came the whispers, louder than ever. The camera's microphone picked them up clearly now. It wasn't a language Sarah recognized, but it had a definite structure. Clicks and hisses mixed with low, guttural sounds. Sarah watched, paralyzed with fear, as the shadow moved closer to the camera. For a brief moment, she caught a glimpse of something that made her heart stop. Eyes. Large, reflective eyes that didn't look like they belonged to any earthly creature. Sarah screamed and dropped the tablet. She ran out of the house, not stopping until she reached her car. With shaking hands, she drove to Lisa's house and spent the night there. The next morning, Sarah and Lisa returned to the house together. They climbed up to the attic, Sarah clutching a baseball bat for protection. But the attic was empty, just as it had been before. The camera was still in place, but when they checked the footage, it showed nothing. The video from the previous night had been erased. Sarah was ready to give up, to admit that maybe she was imagining things, but Lisa, now intrigued, suggested they do some research on the house's history. They spent the day at the local library, digging through old newspapers and records. What they found chilled them to the bone. 50 years ago, Sarah's grandmother had reported strange occurrences in the house. whispers in the night, objects moving on their own, and glimpses of shadowy figures. The reports had stopped abruptly after a few months. When asked about it later, Sarah's grandmother had always changed the subject. As they dug deeper, Sarah and Lisa discovered something even more disturbing. Every 50 years, going back to when the house was built, similar reports had surfaced. Always the same pattern: whispers, shadows, and then silence. Sarah knew she couldn't stay in the house, but she also couldn't let this mystery go unsolved. She decided to set up more cameras and recording equipment throughout the house. If something was there, she was determined to capture it. For the next week, Sarah stayed, with Lisa, only returning to the house during the day. Each morning they would check the cameras and recordings, and each morning they found nothing. No whispers, no shadows, no unexplained movements. Just when Sarah was ready to give up, to dismiss the whole thing as an overactive imagination, it happened. On the 7th night, all the cameras in the house activated at once. The whispers started louder than ever before. Shadows moved through every room, converging on the attic. Sarah and Lisa watched the footage in real time, too terrified to go to the house. In the attic, the shadows seemed to merge into one large, pulsating mass. The whispers reached a crescendo, and then a blinding flash of light filled every camera feed. When the light faded, the attic was empty. The whispers had stopped. In the days that followed, Sarah and Lisa pored over the footage. They consulted experts, showed the videos to scientists and paranormal researchers. No one could explain what they had seen. Some suggested it was an elaborate hoax. Others proposed theories about interdimensional beings. Sarah never moved back into the house. She couldn't bring herself to sleep there, knowing what had happened, but she also couldn't sell it, fearing what might happen to the next occupants. Instead, she turned the house into a research center. Scientists and paranormal investigators came from all over the world to study the phenomenon. They set up permanent monitoring equipment, waiting for the day 50 years in the future when the whispers might return. As for Sarah, she never forgot those terrifying nights. The whisper in her attic wasn't human, and it had changed her life forever. She dedicated herself to uncovering the truth, knowing that somewhere out there beyond our understanding, something was trying to make contact. Outro. And there you have it, folks. The whisper in my attic wasn't human. A chilling tale that blurs the line between reality and the unknown. What do you think was behind those whispers? An interdimensional being? A ghost, or something we can't even imagine? Share your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. And remember, the next time you hear a strange noise in your house, it might not be just the wind. Thanks for listening, and sleep tight if you can.